This is the voice of Keith Scott-Mumby. I'm going to talk to you about healing the world one heart at a time. No sensible person today doubts the fact that the human race is in big trouble. Some are even talking end-of-the-world scenarios, pointing to the year 2012 as the time when everything comes to a head. While that may be extreme, it isn't provably wrong. The truth is, we don't know what's going to happen in the next few years. Only one thing is absolutely certain. We can't go on as we are. The whole of planet Earth is headed for disaster, one way or another. If we don't make changes, it is unlikely that civilization as we know it will last. The human race, life on Earth, may not survive. We live under constant threat of a universal pandemic. Oil resources are diminishing to the point of no return. Uncontrollable religious and political fanatics now have the nuclear power to destroy vast numbers of human beings, and they're stupid enough to believe they can do it without destroying us all. One of the most essential of all requirements for health and survival, good, nutritious food, is no longer a given. A fungus which destroys wheat is sweeping across the globe, while corrupt companies such as Monsanto are busily creating their own version of doomsday by eliminating all viable seeds. The foods we're being served are from crops and animals raised in what can only be described as perverted agriculture, contaminating it with chemicals and reducing the nutritional value of what we eat to the point where it cannot sustain our bodies for long. The oceans are dying, fished out and polluted, almost to the point of no recovery. As the population soars to once unimaginable levels, more and more of the planet's resources are being squandered by foolish and greedy people. It's all in pursuit of money. Cutting down the rainforests isn't just a bad idea, it's destroying the Earth's lungs. As an MD, I can tell you that dying by suffocation is not a pleasant way to meet your end. Global warming, if it exists, and rising carbon dioxide levels, which definitely do exist, have more to do with destroying the natural balance of plant life on Earth than too many motor cars. If you remove the great forests, our planet has no way to create oxygen and remove carbon dioxide. Algae in the oceans, which also give us our oxygen, most of it actually, are being killed wholesale by chemical pollution washed down into the sea. In 1942, when French undersea explorer Jacques Cousteau looked at the Sargasso Sea, he could see underwater for about 300 feet. By 1971, he reported that visibility had shrunk to barely 100 feet. When he first started diving in the Mediterranean Sea, it was filled with life. Today, you can hardly see a fish 3 inches long. Overfishing has come to the point where the vitality of the seas, in terms of fish and plant life, has declined some 30 to 50% just in the last 20 years. But it's worse than that. In some places, the seas no longer sustain any visible life. Pollution has wiped out the entire food chain, leaving a dead, silent world beneath the waves. They have a name for this ocean death scenario. It's called an ocean anoxic event. They've occurred before and were accompanied by mass extinctions. That's a time when most of the planet's species are destroyed. Anoxia means no more oxygen. Some scientists say the current surge of jellyfish worldwide is the first stirrings of an anoxic event. Listen, we can fight over oil and fight over water if it comes to that, but we can't fight over the atmosphere, not once it's gone below a certain level. You can't hoard atmosphere for personal use only. I want you to understand why I'm starting with this doomsday scenario. This isn't just fear-mongering, It's forcing a look at the reality we face. My point is that mankind has faced bad times before and survived, but in every case it took major changes and adaptation. Those who didn't adapt were simply swept aside on the tide of changes. Countless numbers simply died. Some people turned to religion. They preach that God created us and gave us intelligence and free will, yet seem to think they don't need to use their reasoning powers, that God will step in and make everything nice again. It's a pity these people don't know their history. When the Black Death, the plague, wiped out half the world's population, people realized that God was not coming to rescue them. Far from it. They lost faith in the church and turned deeply pessimistic. Some even turned from God altogether. Today, 700 years later, with a new global threat, people are turning to the god of money. Recently, I saw a promotion for a group who are going to solve the Earth's crisis by getting rich. It seems rather crazy to me. Greed and the pursuit of wealth instead of sustainable management of the resources we have is the main cause of our problems today. Corrupt banks, politicians and corporations are literally tearing our planet apart in their reckless depredations. Nothing is more visibly insane than the pursuit of profits above sustainability. What is the point of being rich if there's no one here to spend the money? But it's crazy for another, more sinister reason. The one crisis that seems totally unavoidable in the near future is the collapse of the Earth's economic systems. If that happens, there won't be any money. It's happened before, many times. The last event of major significance was in Germany after World War I. The Deutschmark dropped to the point where a wheelbarrow full of banknotes wouldn't buy you a loaf of bread. I don't need to tell you, I'm sure, that when there's nothing affordable to eat, the riots and the killing starts. People who are desperate for themselves and their children will not uphold law and order. People must eat. Why am I going along this road if it's not just to upset you? Well, because I have a better message than the depressing reports on television and in the news media. It's not too late to act. I don't think the world will end, but I repeat, we cannot go on as we are. We have to find a new direction. Those who want to solve the world by running away from it, getting rich and then buying their own private supply of water and air, yes, it's been offered as the best solution, will likely die out just as the dinosaurs did. They contribute nothing to the common weal, that's the common good. Those who survive will do so by adapting, being stronger, tackling the issues of life in new ways. I'm talking about the use of wisdom and education. I'm talking about the next level of human evolution. The status quo is played out, no doubt about it. It's a corrupt and nasty society where freedom is just a word, and human rights are being increasingly eroded by violent measures. It's been said that the commonest form of censorship is by bullet. If power groups, governments don't like what you say, you could be killed. Brave men and women everywhere who cry out against the way our societies are being run are under threat. Many have been murdered. A friendly, protective police force, such as Britain once had, is nowhere to be found today. Police are used like an army to oppress and control the people. Here in the US, the land of the free, so-called, those individuals who protest and try to make their voices heard are routinely tased and beaten, even killed, though the Constitution supposedly guarantees their right to be heard. I see only one way out of this mess, and the answer lies in starting again. Start over, as the Americans say. a complete makeover. Forget organized religions. They're interested in preserving their own power, not serving the people. Global corporations spend inestimable amounts of money perverting the process of election and lawmaking. Giant cartels now run our planet. Listen, forget about the so-called Illuminati. Most dangerous of all, the school system has collapsed. The present system no longer serves the needs of children or adult learners. It serves only the institutions that want dumbed down and enslaved men and women. Education today is, as Ivan Illich smartly said, just an advertisement for the status quo. Our kids are being destroyed by a monumental system of child abuse. It's called education. It's mediocrity enshrined in the laws and institutions of our land. Schools do not create learning, they destroy real learning. Children who exhibit any degree of flair, creativity, and individuality are systematically punished, broken down until they hurt, and then finally go numb. It's how the very best of us get eliminated and prevented from healing our crazy world. This is serious. We need a whole new way of learning, otherwise the present system of enslavement will just perpetuate itself forever. Only by teaching the world something new can we break the stranglehold that political institutions have over our lives. Only by starting over can we create the kind of world that we would like to see. I wouldn't be telling you all this if I didn't have a solution. In fact, it's been a lifelong saying of mine, you can open any door if only you can find the right key. In this case, the key is not politics, not control mechanisms. It isn't the law of attraction, certainly not wars, and it isn't just about protecting rainforests or saving the whales. It's education, partly, but also gaining the wisdom and appropriate behaviors to live sustainably and justly. The number one weapon we have is love. Now, let me explain. I don't mean the soft option love. I'm talking about love at the highest level of consciousness, love that denotes reason, wisdom, compassion, and sustainability. I'm not talking about Christian love or any other religious love. These are just mechanisms by which churches and religions exert power over the hearts and minds of men and women. That kind of love is a sorry myth. I mean the love that the Creator of the world gave us. It's not passed on by priests, popes, and imams to be withheld if somebody steps out of line. Real love is something that's already within us. We just need to awaken it. I'm an MD, as you've heard, and I fix things. I believe, without being arrogant, that I can fix things about the mind that will enable us to build a better world. But the first step in doing this is to recognize that everything we've had up to this point is worthless and did not do the job. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be in this mess. Modern science, too, you may have noticed, is part of the enslavement system. It supposes that man is just a meat animal with little or no scruples beyond grabbing what it needs at the expense of others. Darwinism, it's called. Supposedly it's all just for our genes. But listen, this degrades our real nature. We are truly beings of light. Our consciousness is a whole different ballgame to the messy physical world we find ourselves in. In fact, the two don't blend very well at all. That's the heart of the paradox. I think it's time to set aside the old stupid idea that consciousness doesn't matter, that only physical things are important. The only thing we have is our conscious being, yet that's the part of ourselves that we routinely ignore, override, corrupt, or thwart. It's time to get started on the real process of living this life, which is to discover our true selves. This quest has nothing to do with prosperity, status, control, power, or the usual goals of greed and acquisition. It only has to do with honesty and love. It has been wisely said that you cannot love anything or anyone else unless you first love yourself. This is a useful saying as far as it goes, but I would put it differently. It's not about loving yourself, it's about discovering that you are love. Love is not something you give or get, it's not something you do. Love is something you are. I can't put it any higher than that. The commonwealth of love was created with the stated promise that I will do everything in my power to bring the real nature and true beauty of consciousness to the people. I will share it with others and create a revolution of feelings, ideas, and creativity far removed from the everyday business of exploiting the real world. I'm talking about ascending to our true state of consciousness. By that I mean a state of love and blessedness. Listen, we don't need anyone else's phony religion forced on us. We have an on-board religion, all of us. It begins with learning new ideas. I have lots of new ideas, as you will see. Consciousness, it turns out, is very powerful, and science has pushed back the frontiers of the role it plays in our experience of reality. It's no exaggeration to say we made this universe. It's not too much to expect then that we can change it too, to make it more the way we would like it. If you're with me this far, you might like to watch the next video, which will give you a taste of what the Commonwealth of Love can do for you. All you have to do is subscribe to this site, which you can do by filling out the form below. When you confirm your desire to join us so that we don't get accused of spam, you'll be sent a link to more good stuff. I think you'll be surprised. In fact, I think you'll be amazed. It will start small, but it will grow. Soon it will grow by leaps and bounds. Let me encourage you by quoting the words of US anthropologist Margaret Mead. She said, "Never doubt that a small group of committed individuals can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has." Sign up now and join us in building a new world. Thank you.